We are actually already into the picks and bans here. We did see No Fear sticking with their same Ezreal Ash band as well as the Kha'Zix band. And it looks like they first rotation the Braum here for their blue side first pick. At a CB Rush, we see the Azir's been left open. I think they said we don't want to see Cornstar in the mid lane because they ban the Yasuo. They leave the Azir up for cute Raichu. I don't know if this is Rashi throwing down the gauntlet saying, "You're gonna give me the Talia? All right, we'll give you the Azir." Handshake, man versus man, throw down. I'm pretty excited for that. They also have the Aphelios band though, so unlucky graphic fail guy, and the Tristana band as well. It is pretty interesting though. What do you think they're gonna pair with that this time, with No Fear taking it?
Before I touch on what I'd like them to pair with the Braum, I'm actually just very happy they picked this Braum because it was such a thorn in their side. It's so oppressive, and it has such a massive presence in this league and has pretty much won almost every time we've seen it. This would be one of about 7 losses out of 30 presences of Braum in this league if No Fear Wolves manage to lose with it. And I'd really like to see them pair the Aphelios with it. No, sorry, Aphelios' band. I hope they don't pair the Kalista with it. I think they're going to pair the Kalista with it because Epic Fail Guy loves to play the Kalista. But if you pair the Kalista with it into the Caitlyn and the Talia and you have those champions that punish that long range really effectively, then you are relying on this Azir very, very heavily for damage. It's a really big debate here, Metapods. You definitely have a lot more insight into that bot lane matchup having played it yourself. Oh, not the Volibear. Not the Volibear.
There's a chance. I don't think it's the worst pick for Skiz. Like, he does like to wander around and fight people, and that's something Volibear's pretty good at. They might go back to Diana though, which even without the Yasuo, I think he still does a very good job of it. Skiz just gets a little too impatient sometimes and needs to wait for his team and not be the first person in there. They did eventually
this lets him do that though. The Sejuani
this will
absolutely lets him do it. So I'm definitely more excited for that than I am for the Volibear. The Volibear is just it doesn't work. It's not working.
I remember the previous series there was one time where the Xin Zhao face checks him full HP Volibear and has like no HP, and somehow he still managed to turn on the Volibear. I don't think the pick's that bad. That's a lot of flexibility, but we'll just have to see how it goes. I do like the Sejuani for him because it gives him a lot more room to get in trouble and have his Azir clean it up for him. They haven't chosen to pick an AD carry with this Braum yet though, so like I said, I still don't know what's going into this matchup with it. We may see some more AD carry pinches, notably Epic. That's what I don't think I was thinking, but it doesn't pair as well with the Braum because it's pretty hard for him to proc the Braum passive, even if he is just weaving those autos with his Q. And it looks like CB Rush has the Xin Zhao again, they have the Talia again, and they have the Caitlyn with it. They have so much pressure they've drafted. They need something to protect that Caitlyn probably. They might pick Yuumi for Nelson. They play it with the Ezreal and they put out a ton of pressure on it. And it lets you do a little bit more and you put the Xin Zhao really well. But I'm just not quite sure. Looking at their bans, we see the Gwen ban on the side of CB Rush. We have Morgana ban for No Fear. The Aurelia ban rounds it out for CB Rush. We'll have to see what that final ban is coming in.
Yeah, and I'm looking at that R5 red pick for CB Rush, which is likely going to go to Ruddledge here. We're going to probably see the support counter pick come through first, and then we're going to see the R5 pick go to Ruddledge. When you have that opportunity as a top laner, and you can make your choice into whatever you want, there's a lot that he can do, especially since Cornstar has been locked in going towards that top side, and we know that Cornstar likes to play the carry on his team. If he is then shut down by Ruddledge, this is a really big deal for the side of CB Rush and how they're able to structure their draft.
Yeah, so we might see him just pull a Yone out, even in top lane. He played at mid before, but with the Sejuani pairing, CB Rush was really smart. They banned out the two go-tos, Aurelia and Gwen. But you have Cornstar's Yone left up. I'd really like to see him try to pair that with it, have a lot of dueling pressure, and to really try to cut out whatever Rutledge picks here, because they already banned the Alawi from it. So we might see him pick up something like the buff Mordekaiser on this patch. I don't really know. I also see a Seraphine coming in from
Silas was heavily nerfed. I'd really like to not see that. We will be seeing it though. The nerfs to Silas were pretty sizable. They nerfed the bottom end by about 20% and the top end by about 18% in terms of how much he heals on the Kingslayer, which reduced his sustain in the lane very heavily. It makes him very, very susceptible to a lot of matchups, and I really think we're going to see Ruddle Edge bring the Kennen out into this matchup, as it would be an excellent choice into the Sylas, and with proper flanking would be great against the Azir and the Varus, who just cannot escape the Slicing Maelstrom.
I would be scared to play Kennen into the combo of Sejuani Sylas, because while Sylas is nerfed in this patch, the attack speed he gets on his passive wasn't touched, and you can almost insta-proc a Sejuani passive. And if he's playing something that's easily caught out, like the Kennen, he's gonna be in a lot of trouble whenever Sejuani gets out there. I'm really interested. Are they gonna pick the new Tahm Kench top lane for
the new Tahm Kench? Is an absolute beast. He just rocks. Well, we'll be going with Set the Beast Boy Bastard instead. Still a respectably strong champion. Going to put forth a relatively strong matchup into the Sylas. Does very well into the immobile 80 carries, and actually, with the ability to throw the Sejuani with the Showstopper into the rest of the team and utilize that as a method of getting onto the Azir and the Varus, is a pretty strong pick to round out this skirmishing team comp that CB Rush have put together that really suits their playstyle. That said, the massive team fighting damage that's coming out of No Fear Wolves is pretty scary, and they do have some incredibly impressive ultimates with the Emperor's Divide and the choices that are available for Sylas. I mean, Emperor's Divide on top of an Encore can lead to a very, very succinct teamfight win in the matter of seconds, especially if you follow it up with the Chains of Corruption to really stop anything from going down. Metapods, I'm pretty excited here to see what No Fear Wolves has in store for us if they're able to get on the same page and make sure that they're able to play the game together.
I think they're playing on the same page, so they have a lot of options to engage this. I don't think this set match is going to be as much of a mismatch on top lane, because they're bringing the Sylas into that matchup. It looks like probably piloted by Cornstar, because I think Raichu's only a Azir player on their team, and with a lot of these skirmishing options they have, it's pretty hard to mess it up. Sejuani goes in first, and then you have the Azir to follow up, the Braum ults, the Varus ults, you have Sylas over top of it all. I really like what they're doing this time. It looks like they had the same feedback I gave them. They want to play more aggressive this time, be able to get on the CD Rush first, but they had time to set these plays up.
Yeah, and the big concern for me, and we watched it all the way through, in every single team fight, the ultimates were coming out a bit haphazardly. Team members were not going in together at the right time. Cornstar was constantly out in front ahead, or Skiz was constantly out in front ahead. And if you're going to take this Wombo combo style composition that then has Azir and Varus for DPS to finish off past your ultimates, if anything is still standing, given that Set and Xin Zhao are incredibly tanky as the game goes further in, you need to be on the same page, you need to be playing together, or you need to have crazy epic level plays coming out of your carry members, specifically speaking Cornstar and Cute Raichu, because the Sylas has the ability to make massive plays with all of the ultimates that are available to him, Showstopper and Encore being the most important ones to watch out for. And the Shurima Shuffle is always something to be feared. You manage to catch that Caitlyn out of position, and she is not going to be able to survive that. I'm very interested in how this will develop here, Metapods, and I'm very interested in how that's going to play out when we see these team fights happen, or if there's just going to be a bunch of picks that happen beforehand and No Fear Wolves will fall apart.
Yeah, like you're saying, they really do have a lot of targets on CB Rush to go after. That Caitlyn said if she gets cut out, the Talia even, and that Seraphine. That's probably the biggest difference in CB Rush's draft this time. Instead of having the Braum, they had that Seraphine who's a lot squishier. And what we saw the Xin Zhao roaming around with the Braum last time, and Braum is amazing at enabling Xin Zhao. Their kits combo so well together with the Xin Zhao 3-strike knockup and the Braum Sun right after it. But with the Seraphine this time, if they just turn under the Seraphine, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. So we might see Acid not be able to get as many plays off this time, and I think the Sejuani will hold it a little bit better in the jungle when he comes to look for that kill.
I am a bit worried, though, when you say that Acid may not be able to get so many plays off this time. If he even gets a third of the amount of plays he got off last game of this game, you're in trouble if you're a No Fear Wolves fan. He was incredibly present across the entirety of the map, mostly the back of just obliterating Skiz in that early game jungling on that invade blue buff. If you're Skiz, call for wards, defend your jungle, make sure that Azir is utilizing his poke. Hopefully Azir is going to be going electrocute in order to have that pressure against the Talia, make sure he's able to dominate that early game laning phase. I don't necessarily expect Silas to be able to stop the onslaught of Set in that top lane, especially with King's Player Nurse and the hit he took to his sustain. That said, if he's able to just get a ward or two down to protect Skiz so that Skiz isn't pinched at his buffs and manages to get those shuttle grabs, then I want to see Skiz scale to that level 4, scale to that level 6, and make sure that Acid doesn't rip them apart again.
You pointed out something here. The blue buff invade against Skiz where he died. He had flash, doesn't make it out, blows the flash anyway. Skiz likes to fight people. Like I said, if they get more vision, and with the lanes they've drafted this time, the Azir can join from a whole screen away. The Sylas flash chains in, and that Sejuani passive is procced immediately. I think they'll have a lot more ability to actually take some of these fights this time. Sometimes it doesn't come up Skiz when he goes for these fights, but I think they've drafted better comp here this time to repel the invades, because it's inevitable with Acid. He's going to be in your jungle. He's going to try to kill you. And instead of trying to get him out of their jungle, I think they're looking to actually take the fight to him this time. So I want to see how they're able to move their lanes and see if it really is hubris to not ban this Talia, because I think it's insane to not ban this Talia and keep banning the Ashe still first rotation.
I don't know, Metapod. I'm a bit wary of taking the fight to Xin Zhao's jungle when I'm playing Sejuani and I'm playing Sylas. These champions can skirmish very effectively. They make a great 2v2. Sejuani Azir, not as great of a 2v2. Definitely going to be weaker than the Talia Xin Zhao. But in general, my goal when I play against the Xin Zhao is to make sure that his impact in the first 12 minutes of the game is limited to like the dragon area and maybe that first herald. We saw CB Rush take the first herald. We saw them taking the dragons. I want to give maybe 1-2 dragons over to the side of the No Fear Wolves, and then my mythics will be online. I have an Azir, I have a Sylas, I have a Varus. My DPS will just be higher than Set Talia Caitlyn can put out, and just take the fight to them at that third dragon. Make sure you're staying close in gold, and then find it.
Right, that's a really good point you make with the just overall DPS coming out of CB Rush. Caitlyn, her attack speed scaling is not great. It mostly comes in her raw AD. Talia, her team fight DPS output isn't as big as her catch usually is considered. And then they have the Xin Zhao in the set. I really think that No Fear Wolves will have a great time in these later game team fights with the Azir, the Sejuani, the Varus. They have a lot of access to these fights, and they have a lot of DPS to follow it up. I think if they can survive that storm, like you're saying, they will have a pretty good time going into these fights.
Yeah, Metapod, I am really in favor of the scaling on No Fear Wolves side, but CB Rush's aggression is absolutely nothing to scoff at, and they will certainly take the fight to them and just try to rip them apart in that early game. That said, it is time for us to encore on out of here and send it off to a quick break. Before we send it to our TriCast from Gunjan, Icarus, and Mac Dewey, we will see you in just a few minutes.
Hello, Summoners. Welcome onto the Rift for game number 2 of our best of 5 finale here for the Mid-League 2021 Summer Split. It was CB Rush in game number 1 who answered the call in quick fashion, finishing off No Fear Wolves in just under 26 minutes. But they're mixing things up here in game number 2. Cornstar going back to the top lane and Cute Raichu Gunjin. So when you had marked up on the signature pick of his all the way back in pre-show, he's back in the mid lane for game 2.
I'm super excited to see Cute Raichu whipping out the Azir, and I think this is kind of where the series starts to develop into. It's comfort for these guys. Whenever you get into the kind of like the depths of a best of 5, game 2, game 3, game 4, it's kind of when the comfort starts coming out, and we do see kind of Cute Raichu going for this Azir. It is interesting to see Epic Fail Guy finally whipping out the Varus. Most likely going to be that poke Varus that we've been seeing in LCS. Incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. Haven't seen it much in mid-league this season, so I'm excited to see it. I do want to talk about kind of this bot lane matchup, though, something that we were commenting on, Icarus. This Varus Braum versus this Caitlyn Seraphine, a champion we definitely do not like at all. What are your opinions on it? Because I personally do not like this bot lane from the side of CBR.
I think that Seraphine is a little too squishy to be played as a support in the bottom lane. I think it has a lot of the same effects that like a Sona or a Senna actual support has when paired with an AD carry, in the sense that, like, yes, you have a lot of range, yes, you have a lot of ability to harass out your opponent, but the instant anybody steps up to you and actually tries to force a fight, there's not really a whole lot they're able to do in return. You end up just losing most of those fights because you don't have a lot of peel, you don't have a whole lot of ability to be able to deal with damage being thrown your way here. And with Nelson locking in the Seraphine alongside the Caitlyn, you need to see the Bay and Nelson really get a lot of good harass off early. They're landing some good poke on the Epic Fail guy here, but unless they're able to keep that up throughout the entirety of the laning phase, it's not going to look good for them. And especially as Epic Fail guy and Dreshbox get levels and the ability to throw out more harass and have more spells under their own tool belts in order to be able to make plays happen once they've hit level 2 and 3. I think that we're going to see Nelson and DeBay get really punished for this combo on the bottom side.
But they did land a pretty big damage combo in that early game, kind of setting up for what this style of bot lane comp is, which is, we've seen this before. Debate playing the Caitlyn, it kind of makes it so that he perma pushes you under tower, and a lot of times it means that Acid does visit the bot lane often, not to make any ganks happen, but just to make sure that his bot lane is safe and his bot lane is able to kind of push in as much as possible. Something that we kind of are seeing in the mid lane, though, the tier star for the side of Azir right now, it is going to be opting most likely for that lost chapter at 4 minutes, something that LS has kind of been talking about on his YouTube channel, just about starting with that mana crystal, having the Futures Market kind of opting to just farm out the first couple waves. Oh my god, what a trade. But making it so that he can get the last chapter early. And this is something that we were talking about in Fever's matchup versus CB Rush, as we see more action on the top side. It's
Rutledge trying to break some face. He's going under turret and does get taken down. It's Cornstar picking up first blood as Acid sweeps in to finish that one off. DeBay and Nelson, Gunjin, as you were talking about, don't want to get caught out here. Nelson separated from DeBay. That's going to be a flash from Justbox. Nelson hanging on, is able to get out.
Yeah, in that situation right there, Epic Figa should have been the one to flash himself to force the Seraphine flash, then can kind of set up a gank on the bot side. Now, Joshbox ends up flashing, kind of ends up looking just lost out there, as we do see, again, the top side. What a fight from Cornstar and Rutledge, just going back and forth. Acid is able to clean up the CDR boats being picked up by Cornstar. And now for the top side, it is a very volatile matchup because both these guys really want to fight in, and a lot of jungle attention will be sent to this top side.
Wow, beautiful setup there. Cornstar taken down. Rutledge sets the trap and Cornstar bites.
We were just talking about how volatile that top lane matchup is going to be. When you blow your flash so early on the top side here, it is Acid that comes in first in order to really punish that play happening. I want to see Skiz look towards the top side of the map, though, because you have the Sejuani picked in the early jungle phase here. You want to be looking for lanes where you have a melee matchup in order to get those permafrost stacks happening for yourselves, and Sylas is one of the best champions in order to make that happen. I personally am a huge fan of this pairing. With the Sylas passive, you get about 105 to 120% increased attack speed in the early stages with those chain slashes, and it just does so much work for that Sejuani passive and provides an extra bit of burst here for Skiz and Cornstar to really try and punish Rutledge. But again, it was Acid that shows up on the top side first, and kind of like in the first game here, we're already seeing the side of CB Rush pull ahead early with some aggressive ganks, whereas Skiz isn't really looking to make anything happen just quite yet. Instead, he's been trying to farm, trying to hit that level 6, but he's falling behind in levels. He doesn't have the fastest clear as Sejuani in the early stages of this game, and already Acid's been able to make 2 ganks happen, and now he's looking towards his dragon, so a whole lot of tempo going over in favor of CB Rush.
And Icarus, it feels like we're in kind of a little bit of deja vu, pushing lanes for the side of CB Rush. Acid getting early things done and early objectives as the Mountain Dragon again is picked up for the side of CB Rush. It's not a incredibly big gold lead, but with 1,000 gold picked up advantage for the side of CB Rush. They're just kind of continuing on this march just poking down these towers as much as possible, getting the push up. We do see Cute Raichu being able to pick up the Lost Chapter, so he should be able to match the push a little bit more from Frosty in mid lane. But in game number 1, we talked about it. Something that we mentioned was that Frosty in this Cute Raichu match would be big, but Frosty didn't have much impact in the early game. It was more the ability for him to join was more prevalent than his actual ability to join.
What was that? Cute Raichu stunning up, knocking him over, alley-oop to Skiz. As good, that's why we picked him for that champion. That matchup, what a big play.
Maybe I talked too quickly. Maybe it was just a little bit too quick as Cute Raichu makes the play mid-Icarus, and I believe that's a Shurima Shuffle combo that I don't know the name of, but it looked incredibly cool, and it allows No Fear Wolves to pick up a kill in the mid lane, and also Frosty just was so CC locked, he wasn't actually able to use anything to get out of it.
He still has his flash up. He has the ignite even available for himself. Not that he can make a kill happen there, but this is kind of the caster curse. I think Gungeon's taking the bad luck away from me today here in order to make sure that I'm not the only one calling things right before they happen. We have another fight topside though.
Cornstar's gonna use the showstopper himself. No haymaker coming out. It stopped Skiz with the perfect timing. But here's the Weaver's Wall into the bot lane. Joshbox barely gets out.
Ooh.
No Fear Wolves winning across the map here.
I'm not going to let them cut me off this time, though, here. In order to go back to my point that I was talking about before. I do like to see this early aggression finally coming out here from the side of No Fear Wolves, because they're making things happen in their favor and really punishing the fact that all of CB Rush likes to push up their lanes, likes to be so far forward. We see Cute Raichu, he goes for it, he gets the Shurima Shuffle. We see Cornstar waiting for Skiz to come up there, immediately goes on his opponent. And here, even though it is the side of CB Rush that is making the play on the bottom side, because they're always pushed so far forward, Frosty hasn't been able to make a whole lot of roams happen in the early stages of this game. We didn't see the first Weaver's Wall last game of the series until after the first cert had gone down bottom lane, in which case then Frosty can make that Weaver's Wall happen. But it feels almost a little counterproductive here for the side of CB Rush to constantly be shoving every single wave, because you're not allowing Frosty to make those aggressive plays with the roams that he normally goes for. Instead, he's stuck shoving out these waves, doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. And yes, you're opening up room for Acid to make aggressive plays, but when he's having to go back and farm his camps here, that's when Skiz comes in. He finds a couple of successful ganks in the mid and in the top side of the map, and now we see some fight back here from the side of No Fear Wolves.
I think you hit it right, the nail right on top of the head, as I'm getting caster curses so much topside.
Rutledge is stunned up once again. It's double melee in the top lane, but he's going to be able to flash away from this one. Here is Acid, Frosty, no teleport. It's just going to be a 2v2 as the Crescent Guard comes out. Cornstar going to try to make this one work as his is coming out. Acid stunned up and taken down. It's No Fear Wolves finding the double kill in the top lane.
And the ultimates came in just in time, and that Crescent Guard from Cornstar just made him so incredibly tanky. They didn't have the damage. Rutledge couldn't get into range, and that is the advantage that you see from Silas Sejuani being able to apply those passive stacks so incredibly quickly. They pick up the double kill up topside. They drop the Rift Herald as well, and this is such a massive golden flux for the side of Cornstar. This is going to be huge in this 1v1 matchup, and it's going to make it so that Cornstar is never messable in the top side.
Yeah, we look at that gold lead for just Cornstar alone. He has about 1,000 of the 2k gold lead that his team has accrued at 10 minutes here. Dragon is spawning in a minute. I do want to see Cornstar hold on to his teleport here. He's going back for a reset in order to pick up a boots at a blasting one. He's extremely far ahead here. Not going to quite have that mythic available, but it's definitely the closest of anyone towards completing that full first item. And also, having tier 2 boots is going to give him access to way more Kingslayers. Walking back to lane is a great way for Cornstar to make sure he holds on to that teleport with Dragon coming up soon. This is going to be a big team fight for No Fear Wolves to look towards if they want to make sure that they can cement their early game lead.
Oh, Frosty in the bot lane, roaming down undetected with the explosive cone. That's going to open up to Bay and Nelson a little bit, and CB Rush are down, but they ain't out just yet.
Yeah, CB Rush is not out at all. They finally use the advantage they have in the spot side, constantly pushing Epic Fail Guy and Jushbox, making sure that their health bar is a little bit low. Frosty makes the roam. They catch Jushbox. They're also going to pick up another plate in this bot side, and so it feels like the map is kind of being sectioned off, MacDewey. Top side is now the No Fear Wolves camp, and bot side has been established as the Debay Kingdom. And both of these teams are taking advantage as they come and go. The big thing is that Dragon is in that bot side, so while the first tower is picked up for the side of the blue team, this will be Cloud Dragon for the side of CB Rush as they start this this soul stacking going, which will come around that 20 to 23 minute mark.
And here's the really scary part about that Gunjin is the fact that it's already been a Mountain and Wind Soul, so we're guaranteed Infernal or Ocean Soul here. Those are two of the scariest Dragon Souls to be able to get the level 4 Soul stack completed on. And what's such an accelerated pace here for CB Rush, if they continue to find advantages, that's going to be a really scary Infernal Soul that they're going to have to be able to deal with when you're facing the Seraphine, Talia, and Caitlyn long-range poke composition.
It's incredibly scary. The amount of damage that Infernal Soul will kind of give to a lot of these poke comps with Debay, with Nelson, even the Seraphine having that Infernal Soul is going to be big. As they do crack the bottom tower for the side of CB Rush, they are now going to be able to move around this pressure point that is the Caitlyn Seraphine into the other side lanes. It is going to be strong. It is going to kind of give them a gold influx as they move around this pressure point to kind of break tower plates. But it's one of those situations where it can get attacked, and we see that Cornstar is so strong in the top side that Rutledge really can't kind of contest them in these side lanes. And so when the map kind of moves back forward, if there's ever a situation where No Fear Wolves can kind of pair the Frosty versus Cornstar matchup, it is going to be a massive advantage for the side of No Fear Wolves.
I like to see the play that's coming in here from the side of No Fear Wolves. They've already rotated Cornstar down towards the bottom side of the map, trying to get him even more plating in that extended solo lane in order to try and pressure that bot lane outer turret. He's going to be fighting Frosty here.
Oh, he stops the Weaver's wall, and Frosty gonna try to escape, knocks Cornstar back, but he's getting ready to stop this show, knocking Frosty into the wall. That's gonna be Cornstar rising to the occasion here in game 2.
I feel like that ulti should be renamed to Backbreaker just because that absolutely just slammed Frosty right into the ground. Great solo kill for the side of Cornstar. And this is the matchup that I was mentioning. You never want a situation where Frosty kind of stuck in these side lanes. Good Sejuani ult, but great flash by Debay to avoid that. Again, I like the aggression from the side of No Fear Wolves. It's something that we were missing in game number 1, where they were kind of just lying down, kind of letting things happen. It's one of those things that I mentioned in the Fever series, is that Fever was able to do a really good job of reacting to the plays of CB Rush, but you'll never beat CB Rush if you're not being proactive, if you're not making plays happen, because you're always kind of going on the beat of their drum. And so the only way you ever win is if they mess up, and kind of hoping that CB Rush messes up in mid league is kind of like hoping that the sun kind of goes out. You'll have to wait a really long time for that to ever happen.
A few billion years, maybe, Kunjin, if you want to see CB Rush make a mistake that is big enough for you to bring a game back where they already have the lead. I want to point out really quick that Rutledge is doing something really intelligent on the top side of the map. He is actually freezing the wave on his half of the map and not allowing Cute Raichu to move up here in order to farm out this wave and crash it into turret. This puts him in a really awkward position for this Azir, where he now has to try and put that down that turret in order to make sure he has some room of safety, but there's still no ward coverage on that top side of the map. He finally gets the ability to shove this wave in and clear out that one pink ward, but it's so smart here for Rutledge because it means he can play safe, farm up, and catch up in golden experience to where Cornstar is, whereas Cute Raichu isn't really getting any advantages besides just being able to farm up and putting himself in a constant position where he could potentially be punished for being so far forward.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a sacrifice.
Is going to be picked up here for the side of No Fear Wolves. Gentlemen, we have the Dragon in just under 90 seconds. Potential soul point for CB Rush.
It is going to be setting up the soul point for the side of CB Rush. They have 4 members in the mid side, and so they're just going to kind of force it down mid. Again, it is kind of that advantage and disadvantage you get with the freeze happening up top. Rutledge has that wave stack, so they know he's not going to be able to move. Big Weaver's Wall, though.
No.
Skiz waiting to potentially
Watch the
dash
flank.
out Weaver's wall, but here is the pick onto Q Raichu. He's able to dash out a huge Cornstar ultimate coming through, but it's Nelson's time. A huge knockaway. Josh Box isn't able to block it. Shurima Wall is gonna knock back Acid. Skiz gets the first kill onto Frosty. This is the No Fear Wolves coming to play in game 2 as they take down Rutledge as well. Dragon in 35 seconds, and the Wolves staying together as a pack win the fight.
And as they
Huge team fight coming in for the side of No Fear Wolves. They're able to pick up 2 kills for themselves here. Gunjan, I think we got a replay coming up for this one. Go ahead and take it away from me.
As we get the replay up and ready, you can see the flank from the side of Rutledge. He has the TP. They have the Weaver's Wall to cut them up. It's a beautiful start of the fight. But again, Rutledge gets Azir into the mix, but he's not able to kind of lock him down or CC him out. He gets out of the way, and a beautiful Silas Seraphine ulti kind of disrupts the entire engage. Acid is the only one diving back. He gets knocked away. There's just not enough damage onto those main carries, but it's so incredibly close, Icarus. You can see it's just basically pixels away from death for the side of No Fear Wolves, but it is a win for them as they pick up the gold lead. They pick up the dragon as well. Soul Timer be damned. It's 10 minutes away now. They don't have to be worried. They don't have to fret as they're going to be able to kind of bring in those items. And you can see No Fear Wolves is playing with kind of a viciousness in this game because they're being aggressive. They're not making it so that CB Rush just has free time to kind of farm up and make plays happen. They're reacting incredibly well, and they're being proactive about it as well. And so I like No Fear Wolves' kind of game plan and kind of mentality going into game number 2.
And you really do need to be playing this very aggressive play style into the side of CB Rush. And this is where we typically see, the Rush squad kind of fall off a little bit. And what we were mentioning during the pre-show is that CB Rush will fight you 24/7, no matter how ahead or how far behind they are. And when No Fear Wolves is willing to match that tempo that CB Rush brings to the table, then we're going to start seeing them pull this lead further ahead. While they have lost out on the first 2 dragons, stopping this 3rd dragon from going over is massive because the side of No Fear Wolves has been focusing mostly on obtaining gold for themselves. Double Scuttle or double Rift Herald. They've been looking for every fight possible. They've been looking for turrets. They've established themselves at a 3,500 gold lead, and with the 2nd Herald being dropped on the bottom side of the map, it is going to go towards a 4k, maybe even 5k gold lead. And now we're seeing the side of CB Rush, look what they're doing. They're setting up to try and take a team fight here, but they're behind. They don't have the ward coverage in order to get a pick here, and it's going to be just another full 5-on-5 fight that is going to favor No Fear Wolves because they have the gold lead and they have a strong CC-based team fight composition.
And without some of the key cooldowns like Rutledge having the TP to get a flank, it feels like they just can't walk into this slice dice comp because, again, you have these melees. You don't have the flash on Acid either. And so if they kind of try to walk up to try to get some sort of engage happening, you're going to get sliced up by Azir soldiers. You're going to get Varus ulti. You're going to get Nelson with the Braum ulti as well. And so it's incredibly hard for CB Rush to really get anything done unless they can either find a massive Weaver's Wall that cuts off the side of No Fear Wolves, or if Rutledge can get an incredibly good flank on the backside. It's really hard for CB Rush to execute this comp when they do fall behind. It's one of those situations where I'm happy that this is happening because it's testing CB Rush. We've always felt like CB Rush is relying more on their play than their drafts. Their drafts have sometimes been incredibly suspect. I know we've all talked about it on kind of whenever we're game planning through the draft, and it's one of those situations where they finally are getting punished by just superior play from the side of No Fear Wolves.
No Fear Wolves coming up absolutely massive here in game number 2. They've found their groove in the No Fear playoff buff is coming full circle. CB Rush getting tested here in finals as we hit the 20-minute mark. It is almost a 5,000 gold lead for the side of No Fear Wolves as they're controlling the vision, controlling the map, as well as controlling the pace of this game so well.
Baron has hit the map at this point in the game. Mac Dewey, Dragon also coming up in a minute 30 here. So with that major objective, with both major objectives going to be up here shortly, does look like the side of No Fear Wolves wants to focus around these Drakes, not feeling quite confident enough in order to go for that Baron. They need a successful fight in order to make that one happen. But I like to see this already, that they're taking over the map. I like to see the ward coverage that they're making for themselves and the fact that they're pushing these advantages and doing exactly what they need to be doing here. If anything, I would like to see some more fights being forced on their end. You do have the Sejuani, you do have the Chains of Corruption and the Glacial Fissure in order to really force fights here. And with the aggressive composition you've drafted, you can drive it home to your opponents that they have no right being anywhere on the map. First thing they need to do, clear out some of those pink wards on the top side of the map, continue to get further and deeper ward coverage so that if they do look for these fights, they're in a position where they know where CB Rush is coming from. Again, I cannot stress this enough. CB Rush loves the team fight in every situation, no matter how ahead or how behind they are, and they will send the entire cavalry to any section of the map that they have to. So you have to be prepared for that kind of a play and have the proper ward vision set up in case you're about to get flanked by the opponents and not overextend and not take a fight that's going to end up throwing gold back in the favor of this losing red side team.
And big things to note, Icarus, we have the Nash's Tooth being picked up on Cute Raichu's Azir. So now, with this item being completed, they will have enough damage to try and go for the Baron. CB Rush sees that No Fear Wolves is on the bot side, so they're just going to try to rush the Baron. But they don't have enough damage. They don't have any kind of percentage health cut. So it's kind of just a bait and force them off, as Cute Raichu will just solo the dragon up. It will be another dragon for the side of No Fear Wolves. And as the game kind of begins to stall for the side of CB Rush, it feels like No Fear Wolves is taking full control. And something we were talking about earlier on in the game is that Nelson being on the Seraphine pick. Obviously, it's been not as effective in the team fights as he was on the Braum pick in game number 1. But another thing that playing a squishy support like the Seraphine does is that he can't kind of walk up into these rivers or walk up into these chokes to try to get vision, because he's so squishy on the Seraphine that if he walks up into any unwarded bush, he can just get burst out, and that's a Baron right there.
And it's a really scary situation if you are the side of CB Rush, because at any given moment, a fight can be started against you. I also want to point out the fact that Debay hasn't even completed his second item here, and typically, 2-item power spike is where Caitlyn falls off coming into the mid game. When you're working towards that Storm Razor here still for the side of this Caitlyn, it's a really weak point in the game for CB Rush at 23 minutes here. They weren't able to get that Dragon Soul that would really put him so far ahead in this mid game. Acid hasn't found the same level of lead that he had in game 1. Frosty is sitting at 1 and 3 with only his mythic item completed here. So this is a massive item gap, and now it looks like the side of No Fear Wolves wants to try and force a Baron here. And honestly, if they find a successful team fight for themselves, or if they find a good position, they can try and force a team fight here, because they are just so much further ahead with everybody on their team rounding out their second items, and the rest of CB Rush still working on their components for their second.
They can definitely force the Baron, Icarus, but it feels like with the strength of Cornstar in these side lanes, if they just send Silas down bot, there's no one that can really match him in that side lane. Set does get just immediately 1v1. Frosty can't even approach the Silas at this point. So I would like No Fear Wolves to kind of really cleanly close out game number 2 would be to have Cornstar on that bot side, keep the 4-man around the mid lane, choke out as much vision as possible, and then just kind of bait Baron with Skiz and Cute Raichu as they look for an engage up top.
Cornstar looking for the engage. Huge encore coming in. CB Rush going to try to come back in this game. They pick up Jushbox. Is this where they're going to be able to turn it? It's going to be Cornstar falling next, but here is Q Raichu. Here is the Emperor of the No Fear Wolves getting almost taken down. Frosty unable to finish off his lane opponent. CB Rush stand 5 strong. Baron is pretty darn angry at everyone. The Weaver's Wall coming out. Here is Frosty looking for the flank. He has to dodge the arrows. He's taken down the No Fear jungler. 5 Rush members strong, trying to group around the Baron, but there's the hero. There's Epic Fail Guy waiting in the wings. Nelson's gonna try to heal everybody up. Cute Raichu has no ultimate. CB Rush, they can't find the engage on the hyper carries they want. Frosty over the wall, taken so low, has to back off, and CB Rush may win the fight, but they can't pick up anything else.
And it's
Mac Dewey, how is nobody
fight.
dying in that fight? Sorry to cut you off, Icarus, but these health bars are so low at this moment. Frosty lives with 0 health. What a beautiful engage by Nelson, getting a beautiful Seraphine ulti onto Skiz, onto Jushbox, kind of dissuading any sort of engage with the Miss Sejuani ulti, but the members just weren't there for that fight. A beautiful first for the side of CB Rush as they take a 3-1 kill advantage. But for the side of No Fear Wolves, again, having Cornstar in that side lane, have him put pressure in that side, make it so it's not just a 5v5 team comp, because in those situations, if you miss some of these key abilities, it can turn for the side of CB Rush.
And it's such a close back and forth fight that I really do want to point out the fact that it started off with Cute Raichu not available, and when he teleported, he just teleports a little too close into where the opponents are, immediately gets bursted out by Frosty and can no longer continue playing in that fight. And this is going to mean a massive gold fluctuation going back over to the hands of CB Rush. It is still a 2,000 gold lead here for the side of No Fear Wolves. They still have control over the map, and they're going to be looking to pick up this next dragon in the next 45 seconds or so here. But if they do have to keep in mind that with so much gold going back over to Frosty, going into the hands of Debay here, they have to be careful of this next upcoming team fight. If they lose another one, they've lost control of this game. They've lost this mid-game lead that they had, and they're going to be looking down the barrel of a very mad CB Rush that lost early and is trying to bring back game 2 here, because you can never count this team out.
You can definitely never count out CB Rush as they call for the TP from Rutledge. They're going to bring all 5 members around this dragon fight, and it's going to be absolutely massive. But key abilities and cooldowns that are up. We have Cornstar already with the Zonius, and it's available. We have the 2 items on Acid, and the big pickup was that Last Whisper is now picked up for the side of Debate. He's going to be able to cut through the tanks of Skiz and Jushbox a little bit more, but they're walking into an artillery range of Silas, or not Silas, of Azir and Varus at the moment.
Dragon has spawned. Frosty looking for a huge Weaver's Wall flank to try to make this fight work. Cute Raichu, an Epic Fail guy in the back line. The line of traps, gentlemen. The no-fly zone is drawn. Frosty is going to zone everybody off the Dragon. Now CB Rush with a difficult decision to make. What do they do here? No Fear Wolves trying to kite back. CB Rush playing a little game. Drag out the Dragon. Acid looking for a big engage. Gets thrown right back out. Look at the huge shield coming in. Frosty looking for some damage. A huge showstopper into the back line. Rutledge has found Cute Raichu. Rutledge has taken over, but he gets taken down almost immediately. It is a 2-for-1 in favor of CB Rush. It is going to be a fight with the smite. Skiz getting forced back off. Can he find the steal? No. Acid secures it. CB Rush come back. They get 2 more kills. CB Rush coming back in game 2.
That is not the team fight you needed to be coming out here from the side of No Fear Wolves. And as I think we're getting the replay set up for everybody to watch at home, the first thing I want to point out is the Shurima shuffle not working out in favor of No Fear Wolves. He's able to knock back Acid, but when you go for that kind of a play, you want to actually allow him to sit there and continue to do damage onto the Xin Zhao, because he had the Braum passive, he had the Sejuani passive on him, and the rest of CB Rush is sitting too far back. When you shove him back, you reset that team fight for the side of CB Rush. But we have another team fight happening.
Cornstar finishes off Nelson first. Acid able to take down Cute Raichu, but it is Acid all alone. No Fear Wolves able to take down the CB Rush bot lane, but the objective, CB Rush looking good in purple. They've got themselves a power play.
Objective is picked up for the side of CB Rush, and Cute Raichu does kind of make a little bit of a hero play to try and kill and make sure Debay and Nelson are dead. But going back to that previous team fight, it's so incredibly close in these big wombo combo fights, and you called it out, MacDewey. Rutledge was the big hero of that fight, making sure that everyone took so much damage in the back line. But something I want to call out, and someone that's kind of gone MIA in this game, is Cornstar. Why are they not utilizing this side lane menace that is this Silas? He had such a big lead in the early game, but it feels like he's just kind of going MIA. They're either not setting up vision, or the team is saying that it's better if he's sitting in these fights. But again, when you go for these team fights versus CB Rush, you better not miss, because a 1 inch that you give them, they will take an absolute mile. And these fights are getting closer and closer, and this game will come down to probably a pivotal Infernal Soul fight.
Next Dragon's not coming up for a little bit here, Gungeon. First thing that No Fear Wolves has to worry about is fending off this Baron power play for the next couple of minutes here. A lot of members from the side of CB Rush are gathering around this mid lane, so they're looking to open up the map just a little bit. As soon as this mid lane turret goes down, they're going to go for some deep ward coverage, because so far the pink wards that have been coming in for the side of CB Rush, there's 4 on the map, but they're all very defensively placed since CB Rush has been playing on the back foot for the past 20 minutes or so here. Once they open up this mid lane turret and get access to the rest of the map, that we already see that Frosty putting that first pink ward in enemy territory, clearing out the vision coverage. And I think so far the second game here, CB Rush has been able to slow down a lot of the tempo just based off of the back of the fact that they have so many more pink wards out on the map, and that they're willing to control this game through vision rather than their normal aggressive style of play, which is showing a huge improvement to this team. And already in this last series here in the grand finals of Excellency Mid-League, we see CB Rush, a team that has been so dominant, already showing improvement on play and things that we have mentioned as their one sole weakness.
But it feels like, again, the lane allocation is so weird from the side of No Fear Wolves. They have Azir, their wave clear mage, sitting in the side lane, while Cornstar again sits mid with his team, not applying pressure, not utilizing the lead that they gave him. They gave him first tower gold, Icarus. This was the guy that was meant to carry this game. This was the guy that was meant to get No Fear Wolves to the promised land. But right now, he's just kind of sitting with his team, and he's having the same amount of effectiveness as Rutledge in these fights. And it's a credit to Rutledge that he can kind of warp the game into a state where he's like, I'm not doing so well, but I'm going to make sure the enemy top is just as muted as possible. And so the top lane matchup has kind of gotten by the wayside, as they're both kind of turning into these big meatball-sized tanks when we were promised a carry threat from the side of Cornstar.
And it's weird to see that when Cornstar, the carry from the side of No Fear Wolves, has this lead on Silas in particular, he's not being able to convert it the same way that he did when he was playing Yone or Yasuo in last week's matches. And a lot of that is just due to how it's not the same simple wombo combo style composition here that No Fear Wolves utilize in order to win. When you're put on these more aggressive styles that you have to play to a certain condition or play in a certain fashion, it's harder for them to be able to pull it off, rather than just the baby proofing we've seen previously. We got a lot of pinks coming down. Dragon up here in 20 seconds, Mac Dewey. Both teams, they want to gather around for this Drake. You cannot be giving over this Infernal So after fighting so hard in the early and mid stages of the game.
Cornstar has hijacked Nelson's Encore ultimate. Let's see what's going to happen here. Huge charms. Frosty splitting this fight right up. Josh Fox so low, but where's Q Raichu? He's feeling just fine. Nelson in the back line is safe, though. Nelson is firing away. The sniper for CB Rush finds the ace right in Cornstar's face. It's CB Rush tearing through the No Fear Wolves.
And they cut them down, Mac Dewey. The fight was so close, but big props to Nelson to get a massive Seraphine ult. If we can see the replay right here, you can see how they kind of section off the team fights into different corners, and they just pounce. No Fear Wolves, again, doesn't have a dominant position in the river. They don't have full control of the fight either, and you can see Acid just pulls the trigger. They go for it. They go onto the Sejuani. And then, again, the response Seraphine ult, but Epic Fail Guy is caught from the Weaver's Wall. These carries are sectioned off. They're cut off from their team members. And what a Seraphine ult to bring Epic Fail Guy right on back into the team fight. They wipe No Fear Wolves. They're going to pick up this Infernal Dragon as well. And CB Rush have taken such a dominant foothold after having such a weak early game in this game number 2.
And it's so interesting to look at how the gold has shifted this game. At max, we saw a 4, maybe 5,000 gold lead for the side of No Fear Wolves, and that was after 15, 20, 25 minutes of fighting tooth and nail in order to get every single kill and every single gold lead that they could find. And yet for the side of CB Rush, a couple of team fights later, and now they've not only made up the 4 or 5,000 they were behind, but now they're 4 or 5,000 ahead here. They're the ones that have been able to pick up the dragons, and this is why we've been talking about CB Rush so much throughout the entirety of Excellency Mid League and how dominant this team is. You cannot put them down hard enough without finding a situation where they just simply make too many mistakes in the early game. Because this game, yes, they made mistakes early on. Yes, you were able to find an early goal lead for the side of No Fear Wolves, but it just wasn't large enough. You have to be able to break their spirit so hard, Gunjin, if you want to win a game. Take just one game off the CB Rush, and even in this second game of the Excellency Mid League Finals, it was not enough for No Fear Wolves here to be able to find 5,000 gold and a couple of dragons, because still they're able to bring this one back.
And now, Icarus, it's so scary because you have Caitlyn sitting on the 4 items with the 700 range with the Infernal Soul as well. They're gonna need this Baron to try to close out the game. They're gonna need the Baron buffed up minions, but they're so incredibly strong. And with these pink wards, if they get caught once by Frosty's full combo, everybody on the side of No Fear Wolves is gonna be in their grave.
Skiz and Cornstar looking for a pick onto Acid. Cornstar stealing the Crescent Guard. Here we go. Weaver's Wall once again. Epic Fail Guy is all alone on the other side of the wall, but look, they are focusing down. Skiz trying to finish off the No Fear Wolves. Jungler, it's a huge encore coming through from Nelson. CB Rush have lost Rutledge, but look at DeBay firing away. CB Rush once again coming on top in the fight.
Such a commanding team fight coming in for the side of CB Rush here. They're able to pick up 3 kills at the end of the day. And I want to make a note of Acid playing the front line there for his team, putting in so much work. And this is where Nelson on the Seraphine is also coming into play here. We talked about how we didn't like this pick all too much as CB Rush is looking to end out this second game of this series. But when you have the Xin Zhao and the set in the front line here, they just provide such a tanky front line for the side of CB Rush that Nelson doesn't have to worry about getting jumped on. He's able to support the rest of his team with the Moonstone and Hextech Purifier from the backline that they just tank up, absorb all the damage, despite the fact that Cute Raichu was free firing in the backline that entire time because Frosty and DeBay could sit behind Rutledge and Acid. They were never at risk of dying in that fight, and instead it's the entirety of the front line for the side of No Fear Wolves that goes down. Baron not even needed in order to end out this game, and it's CB Rush from behind that are able to find victory in game 2.
Icarus, that is exactly what they needed to mount this massive comeback. The No Fear Wolves can't make it work in game 2. CB Rush now moving on to match point.
CB Rush, again, have taken the 2-0, and it feels like game number 2 is kind of No Fear Wolves' place. It was their time to take that game, but they just couldn't close it out. The resources they were given, the advantages they were given, they just weren't able to play around with it, and they gave CB Rush too much time. The clock was ticking, the Infernal Soul. It was eventually going to come down to that, and it was eventually going to come down to those team fights, and that's what CB Rush is known for. They are the best team fighting team in mid-league, and they show why, because regardless of the gold lead, regardless of the advantage the enemy team has, if you misplay once, if you miss one skill shot here, one skill shot there, CB Rush will take advantage of it. They will win the team fight. They will turn the game around, and they take game number 2, McAdoo and Icarus. And now, facing the barrel of a gun, No Fear Wolves is down 0-2. Can they mount the miracle run comeback?
Well, let's throw it on over to the analyst desk for a post-game breakdown after what was a doozy of a game 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a series on our hands. Analyst desk, take it away.
Oh, safe. Caught it from you, McDewey. Thanks. Metapause, this has been a crazy series. There was just gold leads flying left, right, up, down. No Fear Wolves, they had no fear taking on CB Rush in this game, but they just, they fell apart at the Baron, and then the gold swung back towards CB Rush, and time and time again, they constantly underestimate the power of Acid with this Xin Zhao. It is so powerful. It needs to be gone.
Really, they were at that Baron. They tried to fight in the red buff area, and they're on their vision. I thought this was No Fear's game to win. Like they had to enter Xin Zhao finally. They bring out the Sejuani. They go top. They turn a 2v2. They're dunking on this Xin Zhao. And then it looked like I wasn't watching the right game because all of a sudden this Xin Zhao is engaging frontlining into No Fear and somehow tankier than the Sedge, and there's just no damage coming out of the backline from No Fear. I can't believe that game got away from them.
Yeah, and Xin Zhao is like the reverse of Aphelios. Aphelios, you need to draft all of these long-range champions into in order to outrange him, make sure that you're able to actually play into him really well. Xin Zhao, when you draft these long-range champions, the Azir, the Varus, you need a way to get to the Xin Zhao and actually stop him from obliterating you, because when he puts up that arena and he gets in your face, he has the healing to just do whatever he wants. We saw a dragon fight where he goes down to sub 100 HP, walks away, and then starts hitting the dragon and heals to full on the dragon fight. It was the 5th dragon in the game, the Infernal Dragon, that really came off the back of that Baron fight at 24 minutes and turned the game into such an upheaval and managed to spin it around for CB Rush and put them in the position to win this game. Metapods, I see no world where this Xin Zhao makes it through the ban phase again, because it has just absolutely dominated the first few games of the series.
Surely it gets banned. Surely it gets banned. But
We
I've
said
also
the same about the Talia too, right? But that's been in the gameplay for 2 games as well. So if you've got to ban Talia, Kha'Zix, Xin Zhao, I mean, that leaves every good meta champion in the game: Aurelia, Gwen, Viego, Rumble. Maybe not the greatest post changes on this 11.15 patch that came out today, but they're all available. What do you do?
I just, at this point, those are the games that I expect No Fear to win. That's where they're comfortable. But what I notice is I don't think it's draft anymore. It's like, yeah, is it a sin to leave the Talia open, leave the Xin Zhao open? Yeah, but I think the same thing that lost them game 1, lost them game 2. Game 1, they walk into that Baron with no vision, they die. They had the Baron set up in game 2, and then they push into the red side jungle of CBR for some reason, and they don't have any control wards in there, and they get got. Like you're saying, they can't kill the Xin Zhao. They have Sejuani Silas to pile onto the Xin Zhao when he goes into his ulti. They're just not finding the fights.
Metapods, I don't know if it's just that they are not finding the fights or that they're not able to out damage the Xin Zhao healing, because the healing reduction they did have was coming from the Varus, who wasn't able to apply it to the Xin Zhao without just dying himself. But I'm absolutely with you as far as all of the vision control for No Fear Wolves has gone, and the fact that they continuously are taking fights that are disfavorable to them and aren't actually in a spot where they're able to fight with the terrain to their backs and with open areas that benefit them. Instead, they're playing into the choke points, they're playing into the ultimates from CB Rush, and they're not giving them the respect that they deserve as the best team fighting league, or the best team fighting team in mid league, as our casters have so continuously pointed out.
I think it's a bit of an assumption to say that CBR is the best team fighting team in the league, because when they always play with such big gold leads, you're always going to look good. But they're really making a run for the money here, because they didn't have a gold lead for a lot of the game where they started winning their fights. There's a lot of individual parts going right for No Fear Wolves. Like, I thought they were a great team fighting team because they've win with these types of comps at this point in the game. They have the Braum to block the Seraphine ult. They have the Silas to take that Seraphine ult and just do it better. They have the Sejuani ult coming out. And somehow they're just not fitting all the pieces together. What CB Rush did so well, and what was winning them these team fights, is not just the gold leads, it's how they play together, how they pile onto the same target. There's a fight where Xin Zhao, the dragon, he goes on a Cute Raichu, he forces Cute Raichu's ult out, Raichu tries to back out, immediately set on the flank, catches him, shuts him down. And when your Azir's dead, what do you do?
Yeah. And Metapods, that describes it so succinctly. No Fear Wolves has not quite been on the same page, and CB Rush are all together. They're all rushing you down, for lack of a better way to put it. And as we're making our way into draft in just a moment, I believe we're about a minute or so away from that, we're going to see No Fear Wolves once again on the blue side. So this means they have first pick, and they have the opportunity to either leave one of these champions open. Maybe they'll take the Xin Zhao for themselves. It's not like Skiz can't play it. Or get rid of all these champions again, leave the Ezreal and the Ashe open, give away the Ashe, take the Ezreal themselves, We've seen how Epic Fail Guy plays on it. And Metapods, you've been down there, you've played against Epic Fail Guy yourself. His Ezreal has been phenomenal in the past couple of weeks. Walk me through, what can we see them bring out in this bottom lane to try and turn around how this series has been going, backs against the wall?
I'm shocked to see neither of these players getting the Ezreal. It's weird for No Fear to be spending their ban on it every game because Epic Fail Guy is such a good Ezreal player. Against DCA, they had games they should have lost, which he single-handedly stuck his gauntlet in there. I guess that doesn't build gauntlet anymore. He reached in and pulled it out of the jaws of defeat. It is insane. And they have these Tristana bans coming in, so you can't rotate off onto a more aggressive bot lane either. I think that they've just had CB has a really good read on what's going on bot lane, and they've pinched it out, and I don't know if Epic Fail Guy has anything left to show here.
Well, we still haven't seen the Ziggs yet. That could be something that comes through. As you mentioned, the last game, Metapods, with the Braum, the Ziggs wasn't necessarily the most efficient pairing. We do see the Ashe banned away already, so with the Ashe Ezreal on the ban list for No Fear
Just
Wolves,
first pick the Ezreal.